I'm sitting here in the only shirt I own. I've been laughing at it all morning every time I look at the monitor.
I'm going to one-up you because I'm in a hot tub.
Oh, now you made it weird.
Absolutely. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, John Foss, CW Twin Cities. I'm talking with Mike Rowe. We're talking about his new book, which is called The Way I Heard It. Mike, tell us all about it.
The Way I Heard It started as a podcast, resulting from the fact that I love to write short biographical mysteries in the style of Paul Harvey, who you might recall as being the originator of a radio program called The Rest of the Story. I started doing this because I'm a fan of Paul Harvey, and somebody said I should get in the podcast space. So every time I took a plane ride, I wrote a mystery. Today, that podcast is the #1 short-form podcast in the world, which completely freaks me out. Publisher came along and said, you should make it a book. I said, okay. What came out the other end was a collection of these stories interrupted by a memoir, which I'm now told is the feel-good hit of the holiday season.
Can't wait to read it. I've listened to the podcast, and your writing is very interesting. For example, for the people out there, the last one I listened to talked about Islamic jihadism, Claire Danes, but the focus was farting. Tell us about that.
Well, there you go. You know, I mean, I spoiler alert, I don't want to tell you who's at the center of it, but I saw a clip on YouTube a couple of years ago of Claire Danes being interviewed. And the person who interviewed her in the very middle of their conversation let one fly. It was so loud, you know, it's jarring. But the woman who passed the gas on live TV handled it so perfectly that I was blown away. And I just made a mental note that someday I'm going to take a few moments to write about what people should do in the wake of that kind of, call it an O-ring failure. In fact, I was reminded by a brilliant collection of essays by Ben Franklin that honestly are entitled Fart Proudly. And so I figured sooner or later I'm going to look for an excuse to tell that story, and I found one.
When you say you were blown away, was that pun intended?
You bet it was, John. All my puns are intended. And are you really in a hot tub right now? Be honest.
Of course.
I'm so clearly in the wrong line of work. I should be in a hot tub interviewing people who only own one shirt. That would be incredible.
Well, we were shooting a commercial in a hot tub, and I was like, hey, kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and it's an excuse to get in the hot tub.
What kind of commercial are you shooting in a hot tub?
It's a heating and plumbing commercial.
Oh, of course.
We have an amazing actor who does some awesome laughing in here with the bubbles.
You have more important things to do.
Doug Sidney, look him up.
All right, I will. That's amazing.
All right. Well, so also in your podcast, you talk about cancel culture and how you're not a big fan. You were told by one of your producers to change the titles of one of your podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
What are your thoughts on cancel culture?
Well, it's stupid, you know? I mean, look, the winners write the history. Now, we always have an opportunity to look back and decide whether or not we're offended by something that happened decades earlier. It's insane. You know, a major network just canceled a John Wayne marathon because of some things John Wayne said in an interview in Playboy in 1971. So it's goofy. You know, I wrote a story called The Luckiest Kraut in the Navy, and my buddy, a guy named Chuck Klausmeyer, who produces the podcast, is like, Mike, a lot of people are going to be put off by the word kraut. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You know, I didn't actually say it in the story. I'm quoting a guy who said it. But look, in the end, I'm not trying to step on any toes, but it's a true story about a very lucky kraut. There's really no other way to say it.
Absolutely. And so the political landscape is a little divisive right now, but things, I mean, if you look at the numbers, lowest unemployment rate among minorities, the economy is doing amazing, but there is still the divisiveness. Democrats are starting to win some more elections. What do you think the future holds?
I think we're going to experience a year like we've never seen before. And I think it's going to go splat. And that's good, because for things to turn around, they always have to go splat first. Now, you don't want to splat like a civil war. You don't want to splat like, you know, Armageddon. But we have to get to the point where we're so sick of ourselves that we start having a different conversation in a different way. And that's just a long way of saying by the end of this year, we're going to be desperate for stories and shows that remind us that we don't suck quite as bad as we're being told we do. We're going to need to find a way to celebrate the things we still have in common. Work is one of those topics. Humor is another one. Kindness is one. I do a show called Returning the Favor on Facebook. It's got 400 million views. People love it because it's got nothing to do with red or blue or black or white or good or bad or right or wrong or any of that stuff. It's just a gentle reminder that we're all still basically the same species. The book does that too, to a degree.
Who's Mike Rowe voting for in 2020 for president?
I'm writing myself in again, and I'm very bullish on my chances this year, John.
You know what? I would definitely vote for you. So, Mike Rowe, thank you very much. Twin Cities, make sure you check out Mike Rowe's new book, The Way I Heard It. Mike Rowe, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Hey, man, it's good to know I've got the unqualified endorsement of a dude in a hot tub.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike.
Cheers.
The CW crew on the CW Twin Cities, DJ Bonix, Alexa Score, and John Foss. Like, follow, subscribe to, and love the CW crew.